Size matters, or does it? When it comes to our resume, how many pages is the right number of pages? 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages? More? Well, we need to tell our full and complete career stories. We are writing resumes here, not books. The businessman. And not our journals.
Just got back from Jamaica. Tan everywhere, Jan everywhere.
And certainly not our life stories.
I went to Cornell. Ever heard of it? I graduated in 4 years. I never studied once.
In this video, I'm going to help you determine how long your resume should be and how many pages it should include. If you want twice weekly videos with tips, tricks, and advice that will advance your job search faster, then you're in the right place. I post new videos every Tuesday and go live every Thursday. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell to get notifications for when I drop my next video. My videos will equip you with some of the most valuable tools and information that will help make your job search easier, because job searching shouldn't be this hard. I'm Kamara Toffolo, resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, and job search strategist who helps established professionals dare to do work differently and land great fitting gigs. First, a confession. I used to be a big stickler for resume length and number of pages. I believed that no resume should exceed 2 pages because I had successfully written resumes for CEOs that fit on 2 pages easily. And this fact still is and was true. But then I ended up having to write a resume for a CEO that was 3 pages, and then another that was 4 pages. That's when I realized that the resumes that I write and the resumes that we all write need to be as long as they need to be in order to tell the right stories in the right way. In this video, I'm going to share a lot with you about resume length and number of pages. I'm going to share with you my general, and I stress the word general, rule of thumb for resume length, the pitfalls and possibilities of using a 1-page, 2-page, or 3 or more page resume, as well as fitting or filling that space. So let's talk about my very general rule of thumb for resume length. For anyone with less than 5 years of work experience in their target profession, I aim for a 1-page resume. This is most likely to be applicable to recent grads or professionals who are very early on or junior in their careers. For anyone with more than 5 years of work experience in their target profession, I aim for a 2-page resume. And for anyone who is targeting an executive, C-suite, or a board level position, I expect to be writing a 3 or 4-page resume. Now, there are most definitely some exceptions to these guidelines, and that's why I stress that they're general. But when it comes to resume length, whatever length and number of pages you choose to go with, I have one non-negotiable, and that is commit to filling the full length of the resume. So that means I don't want to see any half-page, 1.5 page, 2.5 page resumes. Likewise, I don't want to see you squishing so much content into 1 page just to fit 1 page that it makes it completely unreadable. Whenever you are determining how many pages you're going to include in your resume or what to write in your resume, you always need to be mindful of the reader. Are they going to want to read a 1-page resume jam-packed full of content at 10-point font with 2-point font spaces of white space in between? Probably not. And on the flip side, are they going to want to read a 5-page resume for your 10-year career? Probably not. Again, always be mindful of what the reader will want to read. So let's talk about the 1-page resume, the supposed magic length for a resume, which it totally is not. There's a common misconception that recruiters won't read resumes that are longer than 1 page, but that simply isn't true. A 1-page resume isn't what everyone needs to shoot for. Sometimes it works, but oftentimes it does not. The common issues that I see with a 1-page resume include being so jam-packed with content that it makes it impossible to read, along with too little white space also making it very difficult to read, or cutting important information just to fit the 1-page space. If you're certain that a 1-page resume is going to work for you and that you've been able to tell the most important stories on your resume in a compelling way, but you've also found that your content is slightly spilling onto a 2nd page, here are a few tricks to help you fit 1 page. Check your margins. 1.5 centimeters all the way around will do. Check your line spacing. 1.0 is just fine. Adjust your font size. 10-point font is as small as you can go. My preference is an 11-point font. Use single lines for items like education or volunteering. Speaking of volunteering, this is a nice to have section. It's absolutely not necessary. If your volunteering has been sporadic or your most recent volunteer experience was more than 5 years ago, I would recommend just cutting that. So a one-page resume really works best when you've had so far a short or condensed career. As mentioned, a one-page resume does tend to work for recent grads or professionals who are very early in their careers. But a one-page resume can, on the rare occasion, work for established and experienced professionals. And the time that this can work is if someone has had a very long tenure or a couple very long tenures in the same roles. For example, I wrote a one-page resume for someone who had 2 jobs in 20 years. Now let's talk about 2-page resumes. This is the length that most of us will find ourselves using. Must our resume be 2 pages? Absolutely not. But it is a bit of a sweet spot for many of us. 2 pages really gives us the space to take the reader through the evolution of our careers. The most common pitfalls that I see when job seekers use a 2-page resume include the content that they're sharing isn't targeted enough. More space doesn't give us license to be verbose or share stories that are irrelevant to the reader or the target role. I also commonly see not having enough content for a 2-page resume, but too much for a 1-page resume, or having too much content for a 2-page resume, but not enough for a 3-page resume. So let's talk more about how to fill or fit the space. So in terms of fitting a 2-page resume, the same tips to fit a 1-page resume that I shared earlier apply as well. But if you find yourself in a situation where you have maybe a 1.5-page resume or a 1 3/4 page resume, and you're having trouble filling the rest of the space, then I have a couple more tips for you. You might want to consider adding a recommendations or praise section where you can insert quotes of testimonials from managers or clients. Keep these brief and give a selection of, say, 3. If you cut one of your earliest roles, you can consider adding it back and including just the highlights from that role that are relevant and related to your target role. If you're worried about ageism, then make sure you check out my video on ageism, which I've linked in the description below. And finally, another tip to fill the space is including a section about skills and strengths that you're currently developing through self-directed training, mentorship, or coaching. This would be similar to an education section, but specifically for professional development. A 2-page resume works best for experienced professionals who have a lot of accomplishments to share. It can also work in the very rare case of an exceedingly busy, overachieving recent grad who held down a job while they were in university, as well as volunteering or leadership work, and they have key project highlights that they want to showcase as well. Let's talk about the big daddy of resumes, 3 or more pages. The biggest pitfall that I see with a 3 or longer page resume is being very long-winded with our content. You might think, well, I've got lots to say, which very well may be true. But despite having more resume real estate to work with, you need to make sure that what you are saying and what you are sharing is very, very targeted and focused on your target job and target career direction. We know that what we're sharing in our resume is targeted enough when it meets the 5 R's that I've spoken of many times in previous videos. But to recap, those 5 R's are: you've reframed your accomplishment so that it is relevant and relates to your target job. It reinforces the skills and strengths required in that target job, and it resonates with the target employer. I wouldn't recommend a 3 or more page resume for someone who has, say, less than 20 years of work experience. A 3 or more page resume works really well for professionals who are going for executive, C-suite, or board level positions. Just to give you an idea, of the last 6 executive and board level resumes that I've written, they've all been 4 pages long. Just to recap, your resume needs to be as long as it needs to be to tell the right stories in the right way. In order to write a resume that's telling the right stories in the right way, you need to be very clear on your target job and who your target audience is. If you want more information on giving the right context to the reader, make sure you check out my video about writing resume accomplishments, which I've linked in the description below. And here's my cue for you. How long is your resume? After watching this video, will you aim for a 1, 2, or 3 or more page resume? Tell me in the comments below. I make a lot of videos, but I also make free guides to help you in your job search. If you'd like to get my free cover letter guide, check out the description for the link to sign up for it. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with a friend, and click on my face there, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.